First of all, this has been, if you take the Indian heritage, this has already been described in our ancient codes as also in the Western code called the Hippocratic Oath. But you would see that this is more practice oriented. More concentration on the physician as a researcher came through the modern codes, the international codes. You heard so many times about these things. So, I am not going to repeat that. You see that the American Medical Association right in 1957, section 9 describes that the physician may not reveal the confidence entrusted to she or he by the participant when you have the medical on medical grounds, medical attendance grounds. But when it is required by law or when it becomes necessary to protect the welfare of an individual or the community from where that participant comes, then it may become necessary to breach that confidentiality. But in 1996, again this was reiterated and the court was within restraints of law, because you know that law changes from time to time. So, whatever is current at that time, within those confines it should be taken cognizance of. But then the American Psychological Association, now as you know, this confidentiality issue becomes more sensitive when it comes to sensitive areas like mental health, HIV, etc., where there is a stigma involved. So, in such circumstances, it is the American Psychological Association which brought forth an exception where permitted by law for a valid purpose, such as, and then lot of things are there, to protect the patient or client from harm. Now, this is important when I will be talking a little while later about a case. In the light of the decision by the court in that particular case, there were some changes made. So, we will come to that step by step. In Helsinki Declaration also, point 1 describes about the identifiable human material or identifiable data. It speaks about that. Point 21 speaks about the privacy and confidentiality of the subject and the information, so that the subject's physical and mental integrity and the impact on the personality of the subject is taken care of. In fact, these 4 tenets of ethical principles came from the West. And you know, in the West, autonomy is held high because you have the rights of individual much more than the rights of community given importance there. But in our circumstances, like the non-Western civilizations or cultures having their root from the earlier civilizations, you have a community background. So, when you are talking about autonomy, it actually involves individuals' right to self-determination, privacy and confidentiality. But in the Afro-Asian culture or the Latin American culture, where you already had a civilization influencing the culture, this cannot be strictly abided, because you do not live individually. You may still live in in the urban settings, you may still live in the as a nuclear family, but still you may visit your parents on a day-to-day basis if they are living in the same city. So, that cohesion is always there, and anyone getting admitted in the hospital, the whole family rushes, which does not happen in the Western world. So, one has to always think about the connotation the word privacy and confidentiality holds in such milieu. With regard to access, privacy privacy is the participant's right, and he controls it wholly, he or she controls it as to what is the kind and what is the amount of access she or he will allow. and who will have that access, and what means of access could be employed, or what aspect of the person could be revealed. Of course, it goes without saying that the authorization should be coming from the individual herself or himself, whereas in confidentiality, which as he said is domain of the physician, treating physician, physician researcher, that person may be forced to surrender some part of this private information, and the circumstances are, as I told you earlier, either when required by law or when there is a threat to an individual or a community. Again, there has to be a proper authorization in place. So, what is the sort of information that we can get? It is a genetic information, psychological well-being, then sexual attitudes, preferences, practices. A lot of social science research relates to these areas, which are very sensitive areas, and it is very difficult for the social scientists to design a study without harming the individual or the community which is involved in that. It is easier for the physician to take care of these things because he is more on the scientific ground. The softer side either they ignore or take care of only to some extent, but the social scientist goes into the milieu and is always conscious of the surroundings. So, they have to take more care about not getting harmed themselves also. So, substance abuse or illegal behavior which may stigmatize or alienate subjects may be culture specific also. Suppose it is communities confined to a particular area, then the community gets harmed. For an example, I can tell you that in Canada there is a tribal group, and these people of course have been marginalized. So, they have no job, they drink, they are lazy, mainly because they do not get the job. So, the thing is there were some researchers who went to these people and they got their blood and all those things for genetic analysis, and suppose genetic susceptibility was there for alcohol abuse, then what happens is the whole community gets stigmatized that oh, you are from this community, oh, you have to be careful if you employ this person. So, that sort of stigma comes through. And then when we try to protect confidentiality, what are the things that you have to take care of? This is disclosure during informed consent process, that is the main part, and then also the information which can actually lead to the risk of breach of confidentiality, as in the case of genetic research or even paternity issues, and then transmission of disease from mother to child, and this can lead to a lot of psychological risk. And the safeguards are ensuring that the data is secure and you have limited the access to this particular data. You have to have all this in place before you even try to bank that data. And of course, investigators' integrity is paramount in such circumstances. As I told you, there is psychological risk, physical risk in the sense that even the researcher can get beaten up. You must have heard in the media, you must have read also that a researcher was actually put behind bars because of the research pamphlets giving statements which were not liked by the local community. It was against their culture, that is what they said. Then insider trading, that is the commercial aspect. For example, clinical trials, you have 3 or 4 companies having clinical trials in various sites. They would like to have the inside information. This rivalry between companies is there. So, the insider information can go, and that causes difference in trading. So, that is the insider trading that you call, and it is very often happening in clinical trials. I could also tell you that sometimes the companies which have R&D sections, especially R&D sections, because it is huge and patent race for getting patents is there with the commercial angle. So, what happens is the researchers, some of these companies in India also, people doing biotech passing out from there or doing MSc in biotechnology, they do not have in the academic institution, they do not have the state of art facilities. So, there are actually very big companies who have opened up their R&D facilities for say summer training, some period. What they get from these researchers is the manpower, and what these students get from that is they get to see the state of art. So, it is a academia industry relationship, but then where things are involved which leads to patent, they are not allowed there, mainly because of this trading business. So, this can be avoided by education and then having conflict of interest policies. When you are joining an institution, you have to declare that, or ethics committees, you have to declare that you are having shares in such and such company. So, the confidentiality has to be maintained. In fact, you know, sometimes because the academia industry collaboration nowadays getting into the government agencies also. So, what happens is sometimes in the committee you may have a pharma representative because of the expertise available, but then there would be another pharma company which might be presenting their data, and then this could lead to a conflict of interest, because this person, if the integrity is not good, they can take away the material and do the modifications in their own company. So, there has to be legal arrangements, agreements wherever necessary. This is from a patient's point of view. That is, Mark Siegler, a physician, he is one of, I mean, this is related to access of the records. One of his patients, you know, he did some detective work, and he found that 75 support staff had access to his records. Then he says that I always believed that medical confidentiality was part of doctor's code of ethics. Perhaps you should tell me just what you people mean by confidentiality. And that is very, very common in our hospitals and agencies. Now, from the physician's angle, there was this otolaryngologist, plastic surgeon in New Jersey, who was detected to be HIV positive. What happened was, to his surprise, he got sympathy calls within few hours from the medical staff and within days from his patients. When it spread so much, it resulted in him being suspended from surgical services, and his practice was naturally ruined. So, these were the early days when HIV was creating a big scare even in the Western world. And then there was a study where they interviewed people, and they found that 96% had informal discussion for secondary opinion, and 50% of this was with the office nursing staff, whereas 69% had open discussion in professional settings, and 51% was purely out of medical interest. So, you know the extent to which confidentiality can be broken, but then you can still safeguard here if you do not reveal from where the person is. If it is merely for the sake of